Hi, thanks for coming. I think we're going to get started. My name is John Freeman. I'm the editor of Granta Magazine. I'd like to welcome you to today's panel, Feminism, the Legacy. It's going to be a discussion about women and power and writing, and it's on the occasion of the launch next week of Granta's new issue, which is themed to the F word, feminism. For those of you who are not aware, Granta is one of the oldest literary journals in the world. We started in 1889 as the literary magazine. See, that's what happens when you say Granta. Of Cambridge University. It was in print for about 100 years, went out of print, and then two Americans brought it back in the 1970s, and it's been going ever since. 4 issues a year, and all the issues are themed. So we've done everything from death to money to sex. But we've never acknowledged that one of the most powerful matrices within human life is the matrix of between women and power. And it felt long overdue for us to do this issue. We could have done it every year, but I'm very happy that we did it this year because we had the occasion of publishing 2 of the writers on this panel, and hopefully the third will be publishing in Granta again. What we're going to do is have a discussion for about 45 minutes, and then I'll open it up to questions from the audience. But I'm really thrilled that we have the writers gathered here today that we do. I'm going to introduce them briefly, and then we're going to start our discussion. To my immediate right is Julie Otsuka, who was born and raised in California. She is a graduate of Yale University and received her MFA from Columbia University. Her first novel, When the Emperor Was Divine, was published in 2003. She lives in New York City and is just about to publish her new novel, The Buddha and the Addict, which comes out in August and which has been excerpted and Granta twice, including in this new issue of Granta. This is the second time in our history that we've excerpted a novel in back-to-back issues, and the first time and only other time was with Martin Amis. So we are correcting that balance right now with what is undoubtedly an exceptional novel, and it's truly beautiful. To Julie's right is Karen Russell, whose work has appeared in the Best American Short Stories, The New Yorker, Oxford American, Zoetrope, and she was chosen as one of Granta's best young American novelists in 2007, sorry.
I wish it was that.
Yeah, you would have been 12 in that year. Karen was also recently chosen as one of the 20 best writers under 40 in The New Yorker, and if that moniker seems suspicious, it's because they stole it from us. But they haven't stolen Karen. She is the author of St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves. And she is also the author of a new brilliant novel, which I'm sure you've read about, called Swamplandia. Finally, to Karen's right is Francine Prose, who is the author of over 25 books of fiction and nonfiction, including Bigfoot Dreams, Primitive People, How to Read Like a Writer, and most recently, My New American Life. Sorry, here's my Vanna White moment. Sorry, I have to do this for Karen, too, as well. Very scary alligator about to eat someone on the cover. From March 2007 to quite recently, she was the president of the PEN America Center. She's the recipient of a Guggenheim Fellowship and has sat on the board of judges of Penn Newman's own award. Her novel, Blue Satire, about sexual harassment on college campuses, was a finalist for the National Book Award. She's also written nonfiction books about Anne Frank and gluttony. 2 different books, I have to say. And she is a distinguished professor at Bard University. One short announcement before we get started. In addition to today's panel, we have a party tomorrow night at Paragraph, which is a wonderful writing lab run by 2 very great women. It's open to the public, so if you like what we discuss or if you want to read more about the issue or buy it, it's not on stands yet, you can get it there. But to start, I thought we'd go backwards in time to Simone de Beauvoir, who, as many of you will remember, said, a woman is not born, a woman becomes a woman. So I wanted to ask our panelists, beside chromosomes, what made you a woman that you are, and what sort of events made you the woman that you are today? And that can include parents, people, books, amusement park experiences. I'm going to assign. Julie, go ahead.
Well, I feel like in some ways I forgot to become a woman. I kind of skipped over motherhood. That never happened. I've never married. I'm 49. And I think I must have inherited something from my mother just kind of a distrust of the world. And I think for a long time I thought that she didn't want me to marry. I'm not sure why I absorbed that, but I did. And so I feel like I don't really know when I came into womanhood. I mean, it's a very strange concept. I mean, I feel like there is puberty when you physically become a woman, and then all of a sudden the world looks at you very differently. There's young womanhood, and then as you age, you begin to become more invisible to the world, and in a sense, I think a lot freer. So I think, actually, as I've gotten older, in my 40s, I feel very much more of a woman than I think I was when I was younger. There's just a sense of freedom that I feel now that I didn't have earlier. But I don't know, that's a very hard question. And I feel like sometimes that's something that you inherit from your mother, but I feel like that was never really explained to me. I grew up with brothers. I've always had best friends, but it was never really clear to me how I was supposed to become a woman. And I'm still not sure if I'm doing it in the right way, but I'm doing it in my way.
Yeah, thank you so much for that introduction. It's funny, 1997 was probably like the ground zero for me of like just the hell that is puberty and physical coming of age. You know, that really probably was just a hallucinatory and terrifying time. And that is such a hard question. I grew up in a house where my mother was the sort of the primary breadwinner. So I had modeled for me, you know, she's just the most intelligent woman that I know. So there sort of weren't a lot of easy outs. You know, I always sort of assumed that I would go to college. Her father was from this generation where he's still to this day, is a wonderful person, but he doesn't understand that my sister and I are not secretaries or teachers. Like, you can see the needle kind of going. It's like, so you're a secretary. You know, we'll both try to explain to him for 20 minutes what it is that we do. So she was sort of the first female partner in her law firm. And I'm sure that I really absorbed this idea that education was paramount, and that you had to be self-supporting because you could not rely on anybody, on anybody else. That you needed to have your own set of resources. But then, as a consequence of her sort of being out of the house, there's a beautiful essay by Rachel Cusk in this new issue that talks about the confusion right now and sort of the pain and resentment that can be felt on both sides if you're sort of in a non-traditional family. So I spent a lot of time with my brother and my father, and ended up feeling always that I was sort of like missing the boat a little bit in terms of etiquette. Dances terrified me. Makeup, I still don't know what to do with. So there's some skill sets that I just think that I probably, would have missed anyways. But I did, and still feel like I'm playing catch up with some of that stuff because I really was spending a lot of time with like my, foul-mouthed ex-Navy dad. And my brother and his like goon friends. And I remember I ended up writing a lot about these sort of male adolescents and like these tiny tribal geometries. And I really was envious that my brother and his friends had such, there were just different systems. Like, we were living under different regimes. Like, my sister and I had a curfew, and my brother would like take the car to Mexico and come back with a trunk full of water and be like, "Wah!" And it was sort of just different systems. So this is a very long-winded way to say that it's sort of now. I love your answer. It's sort of now that I'm really starting to feel like coming into my own a little bit as a woman. I think you make it through your early 20s and adolescence, just sort of a confusing time, and now I'm starting to feel like I'm on the tarmac.
Well, I was sort of shocked to discover that I was a woman because all the time that I was growing up, I just thought I was a kid. And I didn't realize that anything else was the case. And when I was growing up in Brooklyn, actually, it just so happened, and it was really an accident of demographics, I guess, that I was the oldest kid on my block, and I was the oldest kid of the kids who were playing together all the time. And at that age, at least for us, age was everything and gender was nothing. So I could run faster and I could hit a ball further. So it didn't occur to me that I was inferior in any way because I could essentially, beat the boys on the block. And also, my parents were both doctors. My mother was a doctor, and my father